Hello, everyone. My name is Chaslin, and I'm the marketing specialist and teen librarian at the Upper Skagit Library. And today I am really honored to introduce to you the first ever pilot version almost of the Upriver Young Authors Program. We have already had our first workshop meeting with special guest Nicola Pearson, who's a local author. I want to give a big shout out to Nicola and thank her for joining us. And I want to thank those of you that already joined us for that workshop because without you guys, this wouldn't be happening. So thank you so much. I do want to mention that there is still time to join the program. Um, you'll want to join soon because the writing portion of this program is but a fraction of all of the things that we're going to be going through as we work on this project together. And our timeline is really condensed because we're kind of trying to shove everything into a 2 month time period. So hopefully with this recording that I'm making, you're going to be able to get caught up and signed up and get writing essentially. So, how do you join the program? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to our website, upperskagitlibrary.org. And at the top of the website, there's going to be this really colorful banner that says Summer Reading Program on it. You're going to click on that banner. The next step is to put in all of your information, your name, your age, a phone number, an email, all that good stuff. And then at the very bottom, there's a check mark, and you're going to select either the one that says for kids or for teens. And after that, I take it from there. I'll get in touch with you. We'll get you going and catching up all the stuff that you've missed. And then you're going to start joining the workshops. So simple enough, right? Cool. So this program is for kids that are age 7 to 12 or teens age 12 to 18. How does that work, you ask, right? Because the 12-year-olds are in both age brackets. I'm going to explain that. So here at the library, we actually give our 12-year-olds a choice on which room or which age group they want to participate in. So they can either hang out with their friends in the kids' room with the Lego table and all of the programs that Miss Emily puts together, or they can come hang out with me in the teen room and hang out with the teens and do some of the stuff that I do for programming. It just depends on where they feel the most comfortable. So the 12-year-olds are those that kind of get to make that choice on where they're feeling, right? Everyone else, we've got a spot specifically for you. So hopefully that explains that a little bit. I know it's totally confusing, but we wanted to make sure that there was a choice there. So welcome to the program. You're going to become an Upriver Young Author. It's a program for kids and teens who love writing or maybe don't know that they love it yet and they're interested in giving it a try. So, what we're going to do in the next 2 months is we're going to follow the path of creating a story from the idea all the way to holding the published book in your hands while you're answering questions from library patrons at your very own author event that you're sharing with the others that are in the project. Sounds exciting, right? So we're grouping everything into kind of two tracks or two separate sections for this program. So the kids program, you're going to write and illustrate your own story. And then when you're done, we're going to publish it in a real book that you're holding in your hands. If you're feeling up to it, and you don't have to, but if you are, you can join us for our very own Upriver Young Authors event where you're going to sign copies of the book and answer questions about what your story was about and how you made it. Does that sound overwhelming? Don't worry. It's going to be okay because you're going to have your very own teen writing buddy. They're going to be your personal cheerleader and they're going to use what they've been learning in their part of the program to help you come up with ideas and write them out and edit them and get them ready for publishing. So for kids, we're going to have 3 very special program dates. On July 25th, 1 to 3 p.m., we're doing the Writing Buddies thing. So we're calling it Let's Write Together, writing with the right friend. Lots of puns in there, right? See, and I did another one just accidentally. See, writing is fun. So essentially what we're going to do is you and your teen buddy are going to get together and you're going to start brainstorming your story. Your teen writing buddy is going to cheer you on and they're going to give you tips on how to find the right story, how to get it down on paper, spell those tricky words, make sure you've got everything capitalized the right way, your grammar is good, your punctuation is good, that kind of thing. So you're going to have at the end of that session a rough draft of your story, or at least you're going to be close to finishing your rough draft. And maybe you take it home to keep working on it a little bit. The next time we're going to see you is going to be August 8th from 1 to 3 p.m. And it's going to be another Writing Buddies event. But this time we're going to be focusing on editing. So when you show up on August 8th, you've got to have your story done, or at least super, super close. So it's going to be time to do the editing. Make sure all of that spelling, all of that grammar, all of that punctuation is the way it needs to be. And then you're going to illustrate it. And your teen buddy is going to help you throughout that whole process. Then, after that, the third and final time we're going to see you is on August 26th, and it's going to be at 6 to 7:30 p.m., and that's the big author event. So you're going to have a copy of the book, and there's going to be one actually at the library that's going to be put in our catalog so that patrons can check it out. You're going to get a copy for yourself. There might be a couple of copies for your friends and family, and then we're going to have copies to give out to the people that are at the event that you're going to sign and give to them. And then there's going to be a question and answer panel. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those before. If you haven't, take a look on YouTube. There's some really cool ones about probably any book you can think of. And basically, the library patrons are going to ask you questions about what inspired you and why you wrote about what you wrote about and how did you do your illustrations and what was it like becoming a published author and how do you do that? And there's going to be some great stuff. And also food. There's going to be lots of food. So, sounds pretty cool, right? So the second portion of this program is going to be for our teens. Those are going to be our folks that are 12 to 18. And this part of the program is going to be much more intense. We're essentially trying to give you the experience of what it would be like to have a career in writing, specifically, fiction book publishing, although it doesn't have to be fiction. So a lot of you write and you either write fanfic and you put it on fanfiction.net or you put it on Archive of Our Own, or you just write and you keep it buried somewhere secret, right? This is your time to share your skills with the world and to share your story with the world and to share your voice with the world. Or even if it's not the world, just with our folks upriver. At the end of it, you're going to have demonstrated and gotten skills from every part of the publishing process. And you're going to learn what it takes to become someone who has a job in any part of that process, whether you're the author who, usually looked as like the rock stars of publishing, right? They're the ones that get all the glory and the accolades, right? But the editors are so important because they're the ones that make the authors look good, right? You can't have a book without a book cover. Someone has to design that book cover. You got to have publishers. You got to have people to market the book so that people know it exists. So there's a lot of really crucial elements, and any of those crucial elements can actually become its own career path. So you're going to get a taste of each of those and see what you end up liking the most. We're also going to be talking about the differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing with a publishing house. We're going to examine the different forms of writing and decide what we're going to do with our project. We're going to brainstorm and workshop ideas with our local and published authors that are going to be meeting with us through video conferencing. And we're going to be learning about professional editing and all the different types of editing. And then we're going to help each other edit with their peer editing process. We're going to then talk about designing our book covers. We're going to collaboratively design our book cover. And then we're going to learn about mostly self-publishing. So we'll learn about traditional publishing a little bit, but we're going to go through the self-publishing process. And we're going to learn about the different options in terms of how do you physically get copies of the book? Which program is the best way? Do you do print on demand? Do you bind it yourself with an actual machine? Do you hand bind it? All of those different things. And then what's the best way to market it? Who's your target audience? Who are you trying to get to read the book? How much money do you want to spend? Is it worth it to print advertising? Or do you just want to do digital and social media or street teams or anything like that? It's a lot, right? It does sound overwhelming, and it can be. But that's okay because we're going to be here to break it down into manageable steps. And it's going to be so, so easy that by the time you learn it, you're going to be able to turn around and you're going to teach it to your kid writing buddy. Because that's the other part of this program is not only are you going through the process, you're also going to be helping our kids, our kid friends. You're going to help them go through it too on a little bit of a smaller scale. But they say that the best way to learn is to teach, and that's what you're going to be doing. So by the end of the program, we're going to take all of your individual stories and all of their individual stories, and we're going to collect it all into a short story collection or anthology. And that's going to be published in one physical book, and we'll have multiple copies of that book. But at the end of the day, it's all of your voices and all of your ideas and your thoughts all together as part of this project. So there's an individual aspect to it, which is your individual story. And then there's a collective aspect where it's the voice of the kids and the teens of Upriver. So it's pretty cool, and we're really excited about it. So for teens, your schedule is a little bit more intense, right? You're basically going to be meeting with us at least once a week or even twice a week. So at this point, we've already missed the July 6th workshop, which was kind of the introduction to the program and learning about the different forms of writing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction or graphic essays or comics or things like that. And then we had a talk with local author Nicola Pearson about some tips and tricks that she had for finding your story and deciding which format works the best for which story or what idea that you're wanting to convey. And then there's a lot of questions for Nicola about just like how Nicola's writing process goes. So it was great. We had an awesome time. So the next time that we're going to meet is going to be July 15th, and we're going to be talking with Scholastic author Rosie Thor. You might recognize Rosie's books. We've got a couple of them here at the library. This is Tarnished Are the Stars, and this is Fire Becomes Her. Rosie's got a couple of other novels that they've written, and there's also a couple of short story collections. So Rosie has a lot of experience in doing exactly what we're going to be doing, which is putting together short stories that are all kind of on a similar theme or have a same feeling, but they're by different folks, which is exactly what we're doing. Rosie also does a lot of interactive fiction through like phone game apps or things like that. And one of Rosie's latest projects was actually a novel based off a video game character from the video game Life is Strange. So it was about Steph, if any of you have played the game. So super cool, right? So what Rosie's going to help us with is we're going to be talking about brainstorming. Okay, cool, we've kind of got an idea for what we're writing, but how do we really get the detail? How do we really know where the plot's going to go? So Rosie's going to help us develop our storytelling by helping us go through the brainstorming process. And there's actually going to be a card game that Rosie's going to play with us that's going to help us generate ideas. So this is something that you're going to take, and when we meet up with our friends on the 25th, our kid buddies, we're going to teach them a lot of the same things that Rosie taught us. So pay attention. So after that, on July 19th, we're going to be meeting with Catherine Locke. And Catherine is an author. We have, there it goes. This Rebel Heart is by Catherine. And Catherine is also a freelance editor. And we have one of the books that Catherine was an editor for. It's called This Is Our Rainbow. And this was something that's a short story collection that Catherine helped put together and edit. And Catherine is going to talk to us about what it's like to be a freelance editor and what does an editor do, what parts of the process are their responsibility to help an author with, because there's a lot of different types of editors. There could be editors that give you feedback on the plot of the story, or there's editors that could just give you feedback on the writing and the grammar and the capitalizing and things like that. So we're going to learn the differences between editors and their responsibilities. And we're also going to learn about what it takes to become a professional editor. And if you have any questions about writing or editing or anything like that, Catherine's going to be available during the video conference to answer those questions, and then even afterwards by email. So you can always send me an email and go, hey, I just thought of something that I want to ask Catherine, and I just didn't think of it at the time. Catherine's going to be awesome and answer those for us. So then we're going to do the 25th, where we're going to mentor our kid writing buddies. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun. I know you're going to be nervous, but it's okay. I promise. They're going to be so excited, and you're going to get in there and start helping them out, and you're going to forget all of your nerves. I promise you, it'll be so much fun. So then we're going to meet again, and our next really big workshop just for us is going to be July 29th, and that's going to be an editing workshop. So we're going to take what we learned from Catherine, and we're going to start editing our stories. Hopefully we're getting pretty close to finishing them by that point. And we're going to switch papers or documents or however we want to do it. We'll figure that part out later. We're going to learn as we go, and we're going to be flexible as we go. And so we're going to basically help each other with each of our stories, and we're going to do what's called peer editing. And we're going to give each other feedback. We're going to help catch typos and do some proofreading and stuff like that. But we're also going to give suggestions about story and clarity and where we got confused or what we liked or what maybe didn't work so well for us. And we're going to try to be really positive and really constructive, but we're also going to try to be really helpful too. So on August 5th, we're going to change gears from the writing process to the marketing and publishing process. And we're going to start talking about book covers, which this is something that I'm really excited about because I come from a graphic design background. So we're going to talk about what makes a good book cover. We're going to talk about why so many book covers look the same, especially along the same kind of genres. We're going to talk about why YA book covers do what they do and look the way they do, or why adult book covers look the way they do. We're going to look at the current trends in YA book covers because the trends come and go really quick. And we're going to talk about if we even care about staying with the trends. We're going to learn about all the considerations the authors and publishers need to think about when designing a book cover. We're going to talk about a couple of basic graphic design principles. And then we're going to talk about what we want our book cover to look like. On August 8th, we're going to be back with our writing buddies, and we're going to help them go through the editing. So again, we're taking what we learned with Catherine, we're taking what we learned from our peer editing, and we're going to help them go through that same process. And then if there's time, we're going to help them maybe illustrate their stuff. Cool, huh? Super simple. Are you with me so far? It's a lot, but take a deep breath. Okay, so we're heading into the end game now. We've got August 12th. We're publishing and we're advertising. We've got the finished story. We've got a book cover. Now what? We're going to tell the world about it. We're going to build buzz around our project. We're going to get everyone excited to be there for that author event. So how do you advertise a book? Who's responsible for the advertising? If you're self-publishing, bad news. It's probably going to be you. If you're doing the traditional publishing route, I've also got some bad news for you. You're probably going to have to take on some of that responsibility too, but you won't be alone. You'll have help from the publishing house. So we're going to learn a lot about that. During the workshop, we're also going to start talking about how we want to organize our author event and how we want to organize our readings and things like that. And then we're also going to start talking about the actual publishing itself. So we're going to have a guest, Lolly, who's our library technology specialist, is going to help us take our finished project and get it uploaded into what's called a print-on-demand service. And we're going to watch Lolly take our project and send it to the printers, and we'll see how it goes. Then on August 19th, we really will at that point see how it goes, because we're hopefully going to have our test book back and we're going to take a look at it. We're going to make sure that everything is the way we want it. And then at that point, we'll decide to make the additional copies. We're going to talk a little bit more about advertising. We're going to continue it. We're going to make sure that you guys are doing some advertising as well. I'm thinking street teams. I'm thinking social media if you've got them, flyers, posters, sidewalk chalk. Don't make me do all of it. You got help. And then we're really planning for that event. We're deciding on the food. We're making a plan to make sure we have all the food, all of it. So, all the last minute details. Easy enough, right? We should be getting really close at that point. And then August 26th, that's the big day. That's the author event. That's the Q&A. You're holding the book. You're ready to have a really tired hand because you're doing a bunch of signatures. You're going to have a lot of supportive people in the audience who are going to ask you about the process. You're going to read part of your story, or maybe the entire story, depending on how long it is, aloud with all of your other peers that have been a part of this project. Are you excited? Because I am. So, this year's summer reading program, the theme is called Find Your Voice. And finding your voice isn't just the vocal cords making sound waves that other people's ears can pick up, right? I can express myself through sign language, right? I can express myself by writing, which is what you're doing. I can express myself through dancing or singing, or I can't play music, but I'm sure somebody can. There's different ways to express yourself. You can advocate. You can write letters to elected officials because you need something or want something to change. There's a lot of ways to find your voice and use it. And so if you don't already have a story idea in mind when you come into the program, we've got a bunch of prompts that are around our summer reading theme that you could play around with and see if you like. You don't have to use them, but if you do, it's kind of like an extra bonus points thing, because I'm kind of trying to make our project title kind of work with the theme a little bit. So we'll see what happens in the end. Don't forget that I'm actually not going to limit you in terms of format. It doesn't have to be a fiction short story. You could write a nonfiction essay. You could write a journal essay. You could do a comic strip. You could do a graphic essay. As long as there's words in it, we're good to go. And as long as you have a complete story with a beginning, middle, and end, we're good. On that same note, I'm also not really doing a word count. So I'm not saying 500 words to 1,000 words or anything like that. I want it to look like you've put some effort and some thought into it, because I want you to actually put effort and thought into it. I don't want you to just throw a couple sentences together and go, here's my entry, publish me. We're going to have to work harder than that. But at the same time, I want your story to be your voice. And I think for this first part of the program, or the first time we're doing this program, I don't want you to have to worry about the arbitrary word counts. That's not the point of what we're doing. So anyway, back to the story prompts. We've got a couple of suggestions for you if staring at the blank page and not knowing what to write is something that you struggle with. So at the top, we've got the importance of words. So you could write a story about somebody saying the wrong word and the impact that it has on the characters and the plot. Or you could write an essay about a time where you didn't choose your words carefully and how it went, or when you found the perfect word to describe a feeling that you've had all of your life, but yet you had never been able to put your finger on that right vocabulary to kind of share with others your experience. So lots of ways we could take that prompt, right? The second one is advocating for yourself or someone else. You could write a story about someone who goes to a protest, or someone who writes a letter to an elected official or something like that, and what happens because they took that step. Or you could write a nonfiction essay about a time where you actually did that, or you saw someone else do that. We can talk about why storytelling matters. Again, we could do the essay route, the nonfiction, on how stories impact our lives and enrich our lives. Or we could write a story in which the act of storytelling changed something, changed a world, changed a character. Something like that. You can write about expressing yourself. You could write about art. So you could write about a character who is an artist and whose art is really important to them, and maybe they open their own gallery or something, and that's the plot of the story. Or you could write about a piece of art that really speaks to you, that you just love and you need other people to know. You could do that same type of thing with music or dance or performance. You could also write about an action that's taken to change the community or the world. So you could write a story about someone who cleaned up the sidewalk in their town, or someone who created a really big art project, or someone who started volunteering in their town. Or you could write about a time when you actually did those things. or a way that you would want to do those things in the future, but the opportunity isn't there yet. Another thing that we could write about is speaking up, even if we're afraid. So there's those times, right, where we really want to say something because there's something that just doesn't sit right with us. There's something that happened that didn't make us feel good. And we want to say something, we want to stand up for somebody, but it's scary and it's intimidating, right? And you don't know if you should, you don't know if it's your place, you don't know what could happen if you do that, and what the repercussions would be. So you could write about a time where that happened to you, or you could make a character go through that experience. And by making a character go through that experience, you actually can kind of do a thought project on how you would respond, because you're thinking it through by using this character as kind of a proxy. So that's a really interesting prompt. You could write about my journal is my friend, where you could talk seriously about journaling and the way it can help people. Or you could write a story where literally someone writes in a journal and their journal talks back to them and they become friends. We could do kind of, those YouTube videos that are like, I did this thing and here's what happened. So the one we thought of that was kind of similar was, I sent a text and here's what happened next. So you could talk about a time where you sent a text message and it kind of ended up in this huge situation. Or you could write a story where something happens, where someone sends a text and it has this hilarious, unpredictable series of events that happens. Have you ever seen a TV show or a movie where you sit there and you think to yourself, if only these characters had actually texted each other or talked to each other or communicated in some way, this movie would have been over in 30 seconds? Well, write about it. What would have happened if they had done that? Write a story where it happens to anyone, where literally everything could have just been fixed if they had just talked to each other. You can write about choosing your words and the importance of choosing your words. You could write about the benefits of sharing good food. You could talk about building bridges or building connections, or I guess a literal bridge. Why not? I'm not going to limit you. This one's for our fan fiction writers. So you could literally just write any fanfic, or if you were a character in your favorite series and then create a original character in your fandom of choice. I think we're going to be okay with publishing those because it is, we're not selling it, if that makes sense. So we're not really violating any copyright stuff. I'm going to double check that. So we may end up taking that prompt down at some point. Give me a little bit of time to research that, because I'm now having second thoughts about that. Brand new program. What are you going to do? You have second thoughts at some point. So I don't want to leave my fanfic writers out, but then I'm really thinking about the fact that we're publishing this, and yeah, we're not making any money, but it's the principle of the thing. So by the way, we should probably, in the next time we do this project, and here's me thinking out loud, maybe have a workshop about copyright and plagiarism and stuff like that, because that's very important when you're thinking about writing as well. Anyway, moving on. You can take a favorite quote and turn it into a story, or you can find a way to combine fiction and nonfiction. So, and you could get pretty creative with that. So one way that you could interpret that prompt is to write about your own life and then kind of fictionalize it a little bit. And those of you that were at our workshop on the 6th, you'll know exactly what we mean by that. But I bet you there's other ways to combine fiction and nonfiction into one project. So I want to see what you guys come up with. Okay, so where does this idea all come from? A couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, right? Seems a whole different world. We used to have something called the Concrete Young Authors Program, and it was a partnership between the library and Miss Rusin's 3rd grade classes at the elementary school. And what we used to do is we would have the 3rd graders write these stories, and then they would illustrate them, and then we would bind them ourselves and use this special, I guess it was a thermal printing binder, or we had those spiral binding books, and we put them together and then we cataloged them for the library, and then everyone could check those books out. And you still can, actually, because we still have them in the collection. This is basically that, but we're expanding it. So we're talking a bit more about the whole process. We're taking you more in depth into all of the skills that go into it. We're having guest speakers. So we have to definitely give our thanks to this original program, but now we're taking it in a little bit more, we're going bigger with it essentially. So I'm really excited about it. So if you're curious at all about those original books from the Concrete Young Authors program, we do still have them at the library. They are in our local section. So I would really suggest taking a look at them because they're really cool. We don't want to neglect to thank our sponsors. This year, this entire program is possible because of the American Legion Hall Post 132. They donated a scholarship to the library to produce this program. We basically did this whole write-up about what our dreams were for the program and broke down the budget into things that we thought it would cost. And then they said, okay, do it. Let's see how it goes. And here we are, we're doing it. And I'm so excited to see where it goes. And it's all thanks to their generous decision to give us the scholarship. So a huge thanks to the American Legion Hall and to Mr. John Boggs, who facilitated the whole process of going through the scholarship application. And that's all I have for you right now. Gosh, it was quite a bit, wasn't it? I want to thank you again for being interested in the program or joining the program or supporting the program. I hope that if you're not participating, that you come out and support the young authors during the author event. It's going to be after our second bookend bonanza on August 26th. So hopefully you'll already be out at the library anyway, and you'll just come in and get in the air conditioning after all the fun and hang out and hear how this project came together. I'm really excited that you guys are going to be going through a bonding process. Those of you who are writing, you're going to be going through this bonding process of creating this work of art together. And I hope at the end of it, you're going to be really proud of this thing that you've created. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to share it with the library and with the community and with the state and whoever will look at it. I'm probably never going to shut up about it. I'm just going to share it with basically everyone, and I hope you do too, because I hope you're really proud with how everything goes and being able to hold this thing in your hands or put it up on your shelf or have it on your coffee table in your living room or anywhere, right? So thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon at our next workshops. And until then, stay cool.